Hi, I'm Ksenia and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. This is my summer series. We're going to be doing a series of short 10-minute or thereabouts videos looking at placements of planets in the 7th house. Now, everybody's very intrigued by the 7th house because the 7th house correlates to other people and their role in our lives. It correlates to our marriage partners. It correlates to business partners. And when I say marriage partners, stepping back a little here, it correlates to people we commit to. So there's usually a written agreement or a contractual agreement, such as you buy a house together, you buy a car together, you open a bank account together, or you sign a marriage certificate together. These are the committed contractual agreements we see in the 7th house. So that is business partnerships, but it's also any committed type of personal relationships as well. Clients are also these contractual type of partnerships too. Someone pays you some money, they've therefore entered into a contract with you to provide a service as well. So these are the kind of realms governed by the 7th house, and of course they make a big difference and a big impact on how our lives unfold. So this summer, thanks for joining me, we're going to be exploring every Sunday for 10 minutes what it means to have one of these planets in the 7th house. So check out your chart. You can do so at astro.com, where you can bring up a chart, and in whole sign astrology you'll be looking for the house that sits exactly opposite your AC ascendant, and it will always have the DC point in it. The written letters DC will fall in your 7th house in whole sign astrology. So look for that DC, that's the descendant degree, and whatever sign that falls in is your 7th house in whole sign astrology. So let's get stuck into what it means to have Uranus sitting in the 7th house. Now, ordinarily, I love Uranus to pieces. Fascinating planet, brings change. I love change. Brings about liberation, authenticity, brings truth, helps us to be authentic and true to our soul's intent and who we really are at a core level. He is brilliant. I love this planet to pieces. But it's not an easy placement to carry in the 7th house, and the reason is Uranus rules divorce. So when you have Uranus in the 7th house, or with the 7th house lord, or conjunct the 7th house manifestation point, it can be an indicator for divorce. I actually have the degree of Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, the sign that's ruled by Uranus. I have the degree of Aquarius as my descendant degree, and of course I got divorced, and this is the reason why. So this planet is telling you that many relationships are likely to come your way because it rules change. And obviously one of the changes we have in relationships is going from being married to being divorced. So he rules divorce. Uranus also, when he breaks something, he rips it apart like a clean, that's it, done. No more, over, finished. It's not a slow unwinding and unraveling. It is a clean break. So Uranus here will give clean breaks to relationship. You've been married, you've been in love, suddenly it's over and away you go, you're on your own. It's all done. Uranus in the 7th house also tells us that codependency is completely off the table. You will not be able to do codependent, needy relationships. Uranus is highly independent, and you must have relationships where you can be almost autonomous, where you will be your own entity, they will be their own entity, and you'll get together sometimes for a tete-a-tete. You will be very much your own person in this relationship, and you need to be. If you're not, you'll feel stifled, you'll feel stuck, you'll feel like, I can't breathe anymore. You must have a sense of autonomy within this relationship if it is to last when you have Uranus in the 7th house. So you might like to, ways you can instigate this is by keeping separate homes. You live in your home, they live in their home, and 2 nights out of the week they're at your house, 4 nights out of the week you're at their house. Everybody's happy. One night you're in your own homes, and everything's cool. But you keep that sense of individuality, because Uranus is individuality. You must maintain that in the relationship if it's to work. In fact, you know what? I would almost say with this placement, it's a very wise idea not to enter into a contractual agreement, because if you do, it is likely to get broken, so you don't want to enter into prenuptial agreements. You don't want to sign a marriage contract. You probably don't want to buy a house together even. Avoid that. Keep the relationship at this dating, boyfriend and girlfriend, sort of maybe living at your house a couple of nights, so on, style of relationship. And there will be nothing that Uranus needs to break apart in that case. And the relationship will be likely to last a lot longer because of this. This is the house of relationships. Seventh house rules business partnerships, relationships with your clients and your audience, and also it rules marriage partners, as we've already established through this series over the summer. Uranus here can give long distance relationships. So your clients might be a long way away from where you actually reside. Your audience members might come from the other side of the country. Your business partners you might be in LA, they might be in New York, and you're just functioning at a very long distance apart, and so too can your marriage partners. Uranus in the 7th house can indicate that your marriage partner and you might have a lot of time apart. They might be traveling in Europe for business. You might be working here in Melbourne, and you don't catch up on a regular basis because business and life and what have you keeps you apart. There is a distance and a separation here in some regard. The best case scenario, if you do want someone in your life on a more permanent basis, would be to keep those separate houses. Keep a distance between you, or even if you're in a marriage and it's a bit volatile or something, it feels a bit like it's about to topple over, get separate bedrooms. Put some distance between you and your partner, and that can really help to channel this energy in a better way. There is a need for autonomy, a need for separation, a need for distance here. And so even in little ways like separate bedrooms, that can actually work wonders. Uranus rules change. And so this relationship is going to be full of changes. It's a bit like a roller coaster. There'll be times when you're on the top and the peak of the roller coaster and looking around and my God, it's fantastic. And then screaming down the other side and into the valley and up the other side. And that's just the nature of how your relationships will play out when you have Uranus in the 7th house. Lots of change, lots of ups and downs and ebbs and flows. Some of us like that. I know I do. I don't like, the difficult times, but life just seems to go that way for me. Highly Uranian person. So that is just the way it plays out. And some of us really enjoy the change and we can't stand being stuck. We can't stand stagnation. So in that case, Uranus can be very much a blessing for us in our relationships. If you don't like the roller coaster ride of change in relationships, then the way to manifest this energy is to choose to be with or find a partner who is more Uranian in style, a bit eccentric, a bit progressive, left of center, very alternative, very unique, very quirky. All these words describe Uranian people, so find someone like that. Or someone who works in a Uranian career. An astrologer. Hello, I'm a Uranian person. I'm working in a Uranian career as an astrologer. Other occupations that are very Uranian are anything progressive, inventing things, science, working in fields of science and discovery, creating new inventions, sorry, I've already said that, working in humanitarian fields where you're creating equality for people and getting them out of unequal sort of hierarchical situations, creating, balance for humanity and creating a better world for people, for the environment, for humanity, for society in general. Anyone who's working in careers like that, for a humanitarian organization, for a not-for-profit organization, these kinds of places would be where you might find a Uranian type partner. Now, 7th house is, as I've said, the house of partnership. But having Uranus here can mean that you like to experiment in relationship a lot. So your relationship might have a dynamic of something very unusual about it, something a bit quirky, a bit not normal, if you want to call things normal. I hate the word normal, but we'll go there. If you want to, you can have a relationship that is a bit edgy in some way, a bit different. So you might be in a relationship where you're heterosexual and your partner's bisexual, but you've reached an agreement, everything's cool with that. Or it might be a polyamorous relationship, but you're both okay with that. There is the tendency with Uranus in the 7th house, not always, I'm not saying this is, always the case, but the tendency and the capacity is there in a Uranian seventh house person to connect with partners who are a little bit different in some way from the mainstream style of things. So that can pop up for you as well. Now, of course, this is a house of trade and business as well. So you can function in trade and business in very Uranian fields and have a lot of success there when you have Uranus in the seventh house. So this means technology, advancement, science, not-for-profit organizations, non-hierarchical organizations. Don't get involved in pyramid schemes or Amway selling or any of that rubbish. You'll approach business with a very creative left of center way of thinking that can actually get you ahead of the game. Very, very beneficial in that regard. Uranus is to have this very unique perspective, a perspective that's almost, it's intuitive. I mean, Uranus rules our nervous system. So when we get goosebumps we think something and we get goosebumps in a response, Uranus is saying, this is the goods, this is it. Listen to your body, listen to your nervous system, which I rule. I'm giving you goosebumps to tell you you're on the money here. So trusting your intuition is a highly intuitive planet. And you'll have a lot of intuition about buying and selling and trade. Also about, things that are more refined and sophisticated. You'll just have an inner knowing about, oh yes, that fashion, that's going to really take off this season. I'm going to get in early and, you'll be ahead of the game with trends in society, fashion-wise, electronics-wise, social-wise. You'll just be on it when Uranus is here, and you can do well in business from being ahead of the game, being a bit of a trendsetter. Now, because Uranus correlates to humanitarianism, this is actually, in this sense, it's a very good placement for Uranus, because you will have great negotiation and diplomacy skills. You'll be a peacemaker in the humanitarian scene. So it can be brilliant for careers in that realm to have Uranus in the seventh house, and it gives you a very unique approach to negotiations and to peacemaking that can really put you at the forefront, give you a sort of a cutting edge approach to negotiation in humanitarian situations. So there's a lot of benefit to be had by Uranus here. And if you're manifesting this energy at a high level, then the blessing can certainly come. But I'm just giving you a heads up, it's not easy with the current attitudes that we have to relationship to manifest Uranus here well in the seventh house. So that's what it means to have Uranus in the seventh house. I thank you for joining me for this little sojourn, and I do hope you'll join me next week when we take a peek at the mysterious Neptune when he falls in the seventh house. Catch you then.